Okay, so welcome everybody. This is MLS Club from Sherman. I'm the president, and also Patricia Acevedo is also the president from the club. We just started last quarter with the club. It's been an amazing experience. And yeah, today we have Dr. Wade, who's an awesome doctor. And during club, we have a couple of questions that were really interesting. And one of them, what really means be adjust into ease? What does that really means? So yeah, let's see where this goes.
Great. So it's a wonderful question, and I think there are many layers to it, because when we talk about the neurospinal system at peace and ease, and then we can get in a question as we're learning to be like, well, wait a minute, if it's at ease, then why does it need to be adjusted? Why are we adjusting, right? So we just have to continually ask these questions and go there. And so there are many levels to this, and let's just start peeling it back. And so let's just start a little bit with the foundation of MLS and why it was birthed from Arnaud Bernier back decades ago. Hello, Melissa. Good to see you. Really looking forward to seeing you here in a couple weeks. And what he was seeing in the field was really mediocre, sloppy manipulation. And if anybody has ever gotten on a table to receive chiropractic and got up feeling like, whoa, that was not good. That did not feel good, and I don't feel good after that. Raise your hand if ever. Anyone? Yeah, everybody raise your hand, right? And so what he found in the profession on whole is that was the majority of what was going on out there. And so what he sought to do is provide the roadmap on how to immerse yourself, not only in professional training as far as having congruency and integrity in your own body and in your own mind, but certainly a depth in the soundness of philosophy, but breaking down the steps on how can we have a consistency of delivering not only a gentle and honoring, but deep and powerful chiropractic adjustment in order to clear the neurospinal system, clear the system, and open the channels. And, you know, once that happens, as Dick Santa would say, after that, it's none of your damn business, right? And so beyond that, you've done your job, and what they do with that is kind of up to them and what's happening in the physiology. So I just thought of it. I draw this, and you guys have probably seen this before. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so here is a system at, let's call it physiological peace. We see the smiley face, right? And we see that the neck represented here is neutral. It's straight. I'm going to see if I can toggle over to another one. Okay, so this one on this side, this is your classic school teaching of laterally flex and rotate over the contact. Is everybody with me? So what I'm representing here, Edwin, by this red, it's obviously the biggest, let's call it the biggest owie in the system. Yeah. And so now I'm going to back up and talk about listings. So the Palmers needed to, or especially BJ, break down the listings in a very mechanical way. Dee was talking in a very spiritual, vibrational, frequency, tonal language. BJ took it upon himself to get it more the mechanics so that they could bring it to the masses and teach more chiropractors. So we use listing conversations. Romain does it eloquently in French, so it sounds much prettier than when I do it. And we'll talk about spinous pivot, body right, spinous pivot, body left, entire segment left, entire segment right. And what I tell you guys is entire segment right, that's called a dislocation. That's called take them to the spinal center right now and have emergency spinal decompression, right? So I jump ahead into more of a level 2, level 3 type of mindset, even for the beginner, because I think it serves you to think of the listings as a distortion in energy that's running through the system that is manifesting into something we're calling a spinal listing. Everybody with me? And so when you CAT scan MRI the neck and you have 2 or 3 different reads under your hands, now, Edwin, I think we're getting into the conversation. Which one do I put an input into? When, why, how, what's the order, etc. So my elementary image here seeks to help with that conversation. So in school, when we're in a mechanistic, manipulative type of mindset, everybody's going to go here first to the biggest, most gnarly, snarling owie. Well, you have a medium-sized distortion over here. Maybe that's manifesting as a body pivot spinous left. And then we have a smaller distortion down here. Now, what I've represented with these green little saucer type things is the size of the window of invitation or the rapport. So now I think we're getting into your dialogue, Edwin, that when I sense ease, we might be interchanging language as far as rapport and invitation. And so in green, you're seeing the windows of invitation. And so now, which color distortion manifesting as a spinal listing has the biggest window of invitation? Which color?
The orange one.
The orange one, right? So in a very basic sense, which one are we going to address first?
The orange one?
The orange one.
Okay.
Okay? Because that's where we have the most rapport, the most invitation in the body, everything from the breath, from the person's eyes, their slight smile, all kinds of reads that we're getting on the system is saying, yes, you have an invitation to this party.
Okay.
Now, a cool thing with this is the way the dynamics of the system works when we keep it at ease. When we put the input into here and release the orange. Yes?
Yes.
Look at the orange energy that's released. It went up. It went down. It even traveled across and touched the big red owie. And what is happening to the red owie now? It is starting to release. And it even went down and touched the red distortion. Now the energy and information from that now just came down and touched and informed this distortion that was bound in the system. And now it is starting to release as well. And look, the whole time the system is at physiological peace. All right? So that is the beauty of this tonal meningeal approach to full spine adjusting, in that when you do your scan top to bottom and you make one input into the system, you better recheck. Because the beauty of it is a lot of that initial distortion that you picked up that you said, okay, you kind of earmarked it. I'm going to go back for that later. Well, when you go back and recheck it, it's clear. The tone is consistent and congruent. It's like, ask Romain, it's the yummiest thing. When you go back and you just knew that there was this big distortion in there that was going to need something, and you might have just done a cranial contact. You might have just, done something that seemed small, but the whole global system unwound. And in the case of this orange, that is their medicine. A minute ago, they would have called it tension in their neck. And now, once you do this at a system that is at ease and physiological peace, and what do they say, Romain? They say, oh my God, I felt that all the way down to my toes and all the way through my hands. So now what are we calling it? What do you think they'll call it, Edwin?
No idea. Peace, ease,
Energy.
Energy.
I'll be
Okay.
like, yeah, and I'll be like, what are you feeling? They're gonna be like, I just feel all this energy.
Mm.
I get to tell them it was always energy, but when it was stuck and bound in the system as a perfect adaptation of innate, right?
Mhm.
That's when we refer to it as tension or stress or a knot or blah, 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 all those names. So we're actually helping to reorient them to their own energy system once we can help them access it and get it moving. Okay? And to go along with this, if we do take the system to tension, which we know what happens, look at their face. Now, when we put the input into that system that is laterally flexed, rotated over, at best, we have the possibility to just like shove the tension over to this side where it can often do what? Create a whole nother subluxation. You guys following this? Okay. So I draw this diagram a lot just to help with this, what I think, Edwin, is a big part of your question. How do I know when, where, how, etc.? And then to help ideally drive home the incongruency with the bring it to tension model that has been so fostered.
Yeah, I feel more clear with the questions, but when I'm feeling it, sometimes I feel a lot of rapport, but when I go in, it doesn't have any give. So that's will be our red one here.
This red one here,
Yeah.
well, first I just want to pay attention to the window, okay? So this window is the biggest one. That's where we put the input in ideally first. Now, obviously there's nuances to all these scenarios, but this is in the basic sense. Now, often what you're going to find is after you have put the input into this one that had the most rapport and invitation, guess what happens to all the other windows?
Opens.
They open up because they're not only their neurology, but like their soul, their everything says, I can trust you. I'm going to reveal myself more to you. Whereas the person who went to the big alley where they weren't invited, this might not be conscious because they might like, they're pulling for you so hard to like, please help me. But their neurology will back it down and not allow access to the system. And so, you know, on one hand, if you find the rapport and as you start to feed in, if you feel something shutting down, okay, then we have those common misses that we'll talk about. And there it's take a look at yourself and where you are, which is making the system possibly shut down. And so that is heavy mental activity. That's attachment to the outcome. That is projection, taking stuff personally, you know, the basics of what can make them shut down. Romain, do you want to speak on that at all?
Yeah, you know, to have the respect of the body, you need to make love with her or with him and not to her or to him. And your image is really really good for visualization. Like if you give an input positive, like you make love with them, you open just your heart and you feel the window opening and you put something positive inside, you create a space for them. Like they keep it and hope come back. And that's why energy flow inside the nervous system. So yeah, my best advice for it is, you know, make the love with them and not to them. Yeah.
You know, and I'm sure Roman does something similar, is we are very clear. We teach our people how to get care. And tomorrow morning, I'll have a second visit with a 74-year-old war vet, Vietnam vet, who's had facial paralysis, Bell's palsy, for 9 years, and he's got like no life. He's just breathing. He's just alive, but he's dead inside. And this is such a foreign concept to him to get adjusted. It's so comfortable for you guys, but we want to teach him how to get adjusted. Now, whether it's him or someone who's been receiving care and is really open to it, we will tell them, every one of them on their first adjustment visit, listen, this isn't something that I'm going to do to you or for you. We're a team. We're going to do this together. And for us to really serve our part, we're going to be coaching you along to essentially allow you to remember how to self-adjust throughout your day, throughout every moment of your life. And so everybody's got to get their own lingo you got to teach your people how to get care very clearly. For me, that's a biggie, to empower them, to put the power back in their hands. And Edwin, you are going to come across, and for everybody, and yeah, I don't know, Atlas comes to mind, but you're going to come across people that it feels like someone has actually laid down cement in their Atlas occiput. And there will come a time, whether it's first visit or whenever, where you need to set that area free and get the pressure off the stem and get the vibration of the nervous system flowing again in that area. And it's going to take courage, because you are going to put a force on the spine that, like, old thinking or training would think like this. Like, if I put that much force into somebody, that means like I really didn't like them and I was trying to hurt them. But you're going to come because life is going to send you these people, because you are committing to this path of mastery of serving people who have been forgotten, who don't have hope, who have been medically mutilated, who have been violated in every way since birth. And they are going to need you to step up to the plate, and with all the courage and all the love in your hands and heart, and absolutely let it rip. And so it's not always a soft, gentle thing. There are going to be parts of spines that are like this, and it's also appropriate to put a very fast, very deep force into there to get it oscillating and moving again. Hello.
So we always have to play with rapport then. It doesn't matter if it's like really stuck, we just need to release that tension, that energy, so the body can just use it. Always with the invitation, right?
Always. Always. Everybody raise your right hand, please. I solemnly vow. Repeat after me.
I solemnly vow.
I will not put a force
Not put a force
into a disconnected system.
Into a disconnected system.
to a disconnected system.
Yes. And this is the beauty of learning BGI, learning network, learning all the tonal approaches. You can do it with your presence. We want to get them connected. We want to help them be present, grounded, connected. And again, this goes into the training of your office of, if people come straight in and they're on their phone like this until you say, we're ready, maybe you teach them, you train them how to get in the zone, right? All of our staff at the office, we have policy. On the way into the office, there's no bickering with your family or your spouse or anything. It's like full meditation time on your way in before you even get in. And when you get in, it's getting ground centered, open your heart. And all these things will help that window of rapport open. So I want to elaborate on this question that came to me earlier. So think of taking somebody who is raised on a classic American garbage diet. Okay, all processed foods. They don't even have a refrigerator because there's no fresh food. It's just all boxes and microwavable junk. And sweets, right? Just all the Butterfingers and Kit Kats and all that stuff, right? And let's say that they come to you and they say, Edwin, you eat really clean and you look vital and healthy, and I want more of that. Do you think it's appropriate to, on day one, give them wheatgrass juice with raw ginger and cayenne, and make something with a cauliflower crust and with all of the turmeric and the chia seeds and the whole thing, and then for dessert you're going to get 100% cacao, right?
That's too much.
That's too much.
Yeah.
They're going to be like, you're a lunatic, give me back my Butterfingers and my Big Macs, right? So what would we do, right? Maybe we would replace ketchup with an organic tomato and sweetened with a slight bit of agave. Try that as starting your path from where you are to where Edwin is, right? But if you go to here, it's too much. Their system freaks out, right? And then they disconnect and they disengage. So then what are we going to do? We're not going to go to getting the spiralizer on the zucchini and squash to make the noodles just yet. That's about like here, right? But what if we replaced the Kit Kat Butterfingers with a 40% cacao, at least something organic, fair trade. It's still sweet as hell. At 40%, that's going to be pretty sweet. And they could be like, okay, I can do that. When we replace their just absolute garbage ice cream with a coconut ice cream. You guys follow me? So it's very much like that with serving the people who come to you. And the student mind is like this voracious dog that wants to hump every leg in the room. Yes? Because you see these subluxations everywhere and you're salivating. And you're like, let me at him. I'm going to get him. I'm going to set him free. And you want to just blast this person head to toe. And Romain's been in practice long enough, and he knows how to blast somebody. They will thank you for taking your time and being patient with them. And it'll blow your mind when 6 months, 8 months, 9 months, a year down the road, they'll come to you and they'll say, wow, Melissa, I really want to thank you for being so gentle with me and being patient with me and taking your time. So less is more so often when serving people. Less is more. Maybe one of the toughest things to get right out of school, especially for those of you who have trained for high levels of skill sets, and you have the ability to maybe go into those places that are a little more difficult or challenged or protected, that you have the skill set and you have the heart and the know-how to give it time. Give it time. Be patient. Questions? Omar, Andrew, Paulina.
Yeah, I have a question, Dr. Wade.
Shoot.
So when we're palpating for that open window, will we still feel tension, or is it going to be a complete place of ease and just like completely like the system's relaxed? Like, is there still going to be like a subluxation feel, or how does that work?
Perfect. Great question. And what I want you to start getting your mindset into is, let's back up and really get into why was chiropractic brought here? Why does it exist? What's the purpose? What's it for? And I always got to go back to that big, broad and go specific instead of the other way around. Now, it's my belief, Andrew, that, you know, in this way that Romain speaks of so sensually, is we were made for each other. And I don't believe that the design of life, that I'm supposed to be in my room with a stack full of books and doing this spiritual evolution on my own. I think that God created us for each other, as mirrors for each other, and that we have the ability to see in another what is very difficult, right? When you're in the picture, you can't see the frame, right? And so I do believe that when we have this soul agreement and someone's on your table, I don't believe in accidents. And now here is where a lot of people, the left brain linear, gets caught up in that, well, this is all phooey because when Andrew checks the legs, it's left short. When Patricia checks the legs, it's right short. There's no intra-practitioner reliability, so it's bullshit. Well, excuse me very much. There is quantum physics at play. There are metaphysics at play, quantum mechanics in realms. So my system is going to reveal itself differently to Romain than it will Omar. Isn't that fascinating? That's why at an MLS seminar, when you guys are doing rounds of adjusting and you scan, you CAT scan MRI, whether it's cervicals or any part of the spine, and I know what you want to do. You want to raise your hand and ask a staff to come around to check and see if you're right, don't you? Don't ever do it, Romain. We will never, ever go in and check and be like, oh yeah, Andrew, I feel that too at C5. Because we can't. The system will reveal to you something completely different than it will reveal to me. And that is the beautiful nature and the law of infinite variety at play. So, because listen, that system knows more about me than I know about myself sometimes, or most of the times. Your innate wisdom knows where my innate wisdom is and any layers that I've gotten in the way. So it knows, well, maybe we don't show him this one, but I think he can receive this one. So, subluxation, right? That stored potentiality in the system. Let's go to subluxation for a minute. Is that okay if we talk about subluxation for a second? Everyone? So, here's a quick story. Every experience that we have carries energy and information. It has codes for you to download. Doesn't matter if it's chemical, mental, emotional, physical, spiritual. If I am in a place where I can process and integrate and assimilate that experience and the energy and information and codes with it, I can take one more step on my path of evolution. If I am not, and it overwhelms my system does what it's perfectly designed to do and goes more into the survival route. And it says, Wade, I know you're not in a place where you can experience this as a gift and a blessing meant for your growth, learning, and evolution. I'm going to hold on to it until you are. I will not let this experience go in vain. So now, because we chose to incarnate in this vehicle, it's pretty predictable. We all have the basic structure, same structure. And really, guys, we all have the basic same life. When we really get down to it, we're not that damn different. So now we have the stored potentiality that has a pearl of wisdom for us when we're ready, right? The Creator is indifferent on whether we take it or not, right? But we are meant for each other, and many of us have been awakened to this purpose and this passion to serve our fellow man. So the rapport and invitation and window that we're talking about is at the doorway of the subluxation, of the stored potentiality, which can definitely be layered in all kinds of trauma and wounds. You follow? So they're not the same. A closed window over potentiality is that. And you guys all took the oath. You're not going to put a force into that, are you? Right? You might do some other things in the global system to see if it wants to play. And you're reorienting the consciousness of the person to observe itself differently. Because now, when you are in the secret in Paris, it's a pretty groovy place. You're not in the ditch that you just got kicked into in the pouring rain and sleet and snow by your stepfather who's a drunk. You follow me? So that created a subluxation pattern 30 years ago. Well, now you're in Romain's office. And now there is a level of safety opening up. And if we are in that grounded, centered, open-hearted space, we can reorient that person's consciousness to themselves. And now we're providing a new option to say, hey, are you ready now? Would now be a good time to take another look at this, and I'm here to support you in integrating and assimilating the stuck, bound, stored energy and information. And just like in our picture before, when we release it with high level of skill, there's almost no words. Miracles happen. Core healing. It's almost no. We can't even understand what is possible. We're just out of infancy with chiropractic. We're maybe beyond toddlers, but we're definitely prepubescent in this thing of chiropractic. So, but we're going to keep doing the small sequential steps to get there. That was a lot for your question. I hope I answered it, Andrew. Romain?
Yeah. So for me, this is so important to have this spiritual thing of the subluxation. You know, subluxation is less light within. And when you read the Bible, the first thing that is put into it's and light comes or and light is. So imagine something, okay, for us is a vertebra that put pressure on light, you know? So, and that's why Dick Santos said, you have one ability, it's to turn on the power. Because your work is only upon you that you need to be professional to put the higher performance, the higher attitude, the higher positivity inside the body. But the result is only upon God. And that's why the concept of subluxation is so important spiritually. It's not only to move, you know, it's to reconnect. And, you know, it's deep to understand and you feel results in practice. But the love is about spirit and spirit is about also love. And that, you know, the best connection come from.
That's it. I trust that this brings you back pointed at true north with why you're jumping through all these hoops as a student. And when you look out into the world and everything is confusing, and some of you have family members that you have now become alienated with because when and there's just so many opportunities these days for people to be at odds with each other, when really it is a coming together that's time. And as my teacher Pasquale said, chiropractic is the final frontier for the salvation of mankind. And it matters. So everything that you guys have been doing your whole entire life, and especially during school, it will not go in vain. And so going out there and leading with your light, there are so many people hungry for what you have. And certainly staying together in these clubs and groups is paramount to stay steeped in the conversation. It's giving you the spiritual armor right now to go out there and serve your purpose and shine your light for others, because people are hurting right now. And just that one touch, the right place, at the right time, with the right intent and focus and presence, will save lives.
Dr. Wade?
Yes.
We have a question here. So
Okay.
I was just asked, what would be your philosophy behind hearing the crack? Just because as we just started clinic,
Yes.
there was a commentary from one of the clinical doctors, and it was like, oh, if you hear 4 or 5 cracks, then it's like you did something. So,
And if you didn't hear 4 or 5 cracks, then what? So they were like, hey, man, if I don't hear it go crunch, then you didn't do nothing. Yes?
mhm.
Okay. So, I mean, really, guys, do we need to go there? Is that because it's a clinic, doc, and like, forgive him, Lord, he know not what he do, right? But that's such a limited consciousness around it. Now, listen, you walk into my office or Romain's office, and like, they're hearing this down the street next door, you know, of some of the release that is happening in these spines. And when I graduated, because I have such a reverence for the sacred vocation, that when someone would come to me, and I know you guys have experienced this already, oh, you're a chiropractor? Oh man, would you crack my neck? How dare you speak about this sacred vocation like this? D.D. Palmer channeled the principles as we, you know what I mean? It's just like, and now, you know, maybe go back 10 years ago, and I got to a maturity level, I'd be like, yeah, come here, let me crack that neck, get over here, right? And know that I was going to infuse them with such love, such principle, boom, I was going to shock them into being awake and respecting, like, oh, that's different than what I thought it was, right? And now I just have no need to be liked, loved, accepted, anything like that, but anybody who wants to, you know, play games. But I get the conundrum that you're in school, in the clinic. Jump through the hoops, do what you have to pass the class and get your credits. And before the clinic doc comes in, you know, tell your person that you're serving to bring in a bag of potato chips, a little one, and keep it in their pocket. And then you have an agreement when you do that into the neck that they like crunch all the chips and be like, and look at the doc and be like, we good? Okay, good, great, we're done. And move on and forget about all the nonsense. Because we all know that it's not about that. If you've seen anybody doing BGI or network on a high level, and I'm not talking about a dog and pony show, because that irks me, dog and pony shows. If it's not changing something sustainably in the system, I've got no time or desire to see somebody flop like a fish on the table if something's not changing. I will literally sit on them and tell them to cut it out, that they're just distracting themselves. But if you've seen somebody get cleared out with BGI network and some of those so-called light touch techniques, and watch somebody's heart just about blow through their chest, no cracks needed for that. So that's, and we can go down a path neurophysiologically of what is happening when we do cavitate, especially a cervical segment, and stimulate the spinal cord in this cascade of fireworks that is just going off in the brain, and the cavitation does have a part in that.
Okay, I don't know if this makes sense, but do you always think, like, if you have rapport at some point, would you always like give an input, like a thrust, or you would just like, because I know healing starts with the touch, so would you always, like, seeing different windows, would you always like, okay, you got this window open, you went there, but are you going to go to all the other ones, or just let it integrate?
Got it. Great question. And this brings me back, I think, to clean up a little bit of Andrew's question earlier, is learning how your design is. So I'm very kinesthetic. I'm like a kinesthetic empath. You can walk in the room and I know where the subluxations are. I know where the distortion patterns are because I use my body and my own spine as a mirror for that. And it works really well for me. So what is your gift, right? What is your jam to pick up on all this stuff? Because really what we're doing, so if I can just use a piano analogy, right, is the piano tuner is ding, 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 ding. Oh, this one's out of tune. So really we're just picking up tone. You follow? And there is a tonal dissonance or discrepancy. One of these tones is not like the other. So if you just picture the spine like a guitar strings or a piano keys, hey Zach, and then you're looking for the out of tune key. Now the beauty of a global tonal meningeal approach is you can access the entirety of the system from anywhere in the system. So, you know, when you're really on your game, you can clear the atlas from their big toe, right? So where is the appropriate access point? But how do you find where the tonal dissonance is, Andrew, is going to be your gift. Sue Brown, who I was fortunate enough to learn from for years, she could see it and hear it. Some people see vortexes of color. Some people actually hear tones. Most of us are visual, so picking up visual distortions and then tracking it. So that's where the club is crucial in doing your drills and exercises and things that are helping you develop your sensitivity. So this is where half of your club meetings, someone from the outside should be able to come and look at what you're doing in club and have no idea that you're chiropractors. Because you're blindfolded and you're doing ESP experiments, because you are doing tactile, you have stations set up where one of them has this object and one of them has this and one of them has this and one of them has this, and you have to figure out what is it from your tactile senses, blindfolded, and then put earplugs in, take away another sense, and see how another sense raises up. You guys follow? That is the magic of club, because you're in this special bubble where you have 10, 11, 12, 20, 40 people that are willing to come together consistently week in and week out and do stuff like this. The motivation to do this once you're out on your own is so much more difficult, trust me. So club is where you do these drills that you might not even have a spine, you might not even have a table. Cool? And did I answer that whole question, Patricia? Hey, how about this? Instead of having a subluxation-based practice, what if we had a clear-based practice? And that's what you were looking for all the time. A clear neurospinal system. Because what is the law? What I focus on, I get more of. Where I put my energy expands. So I just have to ask the question. If I have a subluxation-based practice, am I bringing about more subluxation in the world? I don't know, but I got to ask the question. So what I love, and I'll tell you, Patricia, it's hard for you guys to wrap your head around, what people love is for you to check them and tell them how freaking awesome they're doing, how clear they are, and how little of input they needed. And they're like, really? I'm holding and I'm growing and I'm getting better? Yes. Are you kidding me? Right? How many people, like month after month after year, they're doing the same thing that they were doing on day one? Like, how did they convince these people to stick around for that? Right? So what if we had a clear-based practice and we were looking for those areas of continuity, tremendous rapport, and that just felt yummy and clear? Yeah? Beautiful. Great question. That's why I didn't mean to be rude on about kind of not answering the question, who's saying if I don't hear it crunch, it's like I'm paying you, I'm paying for you. That's sad. It's unfortunate, you know. And I don't know. We've talked about how we communicate with colleges so that they are more open to programs like MLS being a complement to their curriculum and not a threat to them. And they know that we are doing things in such a professional, such an honoring way that they welcome MLS, and they'll send all of their clinic docs to our programs to come and play with us and soak it up. Because if we are truly a perpetual student of life, and that our vision, mission, and purpose says we will do our best to be our best to serve the people, then that's what it's going to take. And I don't care who's in the room and what quarter they're in or how many years are in practice, but look, this is why MLS was born in the first place, because we had a profession full of people who were saying, if it don't crunch deep, then you didn't get her done. It's too bad. It's too bad. And thank you for the laughing emoji. Someone gets my jokes. And I want to love that person up. And now you get to lead by example, Juan, and show them by your presence a different level of consciousness and resonance that maybe, or maybe not, maybe that you'll see or maybe not see, but maybe the next time that wants to come out of their mouth because they've said it for the last 20 years in clinic, maybe they'll hold it and bite their tongue and not repeat the same mediocre stuff that they've been recycling for so many years. But I do want everybody to be very respectful to their teachers, to the admin and everything, because you are representing MLS, and we have reverence and respect for everybody in whatever way they think, they practice, and all that stuff. And I like to build bridges and help people come together and grow together. So keep that in mind. It's easy for students to leave our seminar and then go back with a righteous attitude and tell the clinic docs how wrong they're being and how violating they're being. We want to think that they're doing the best they know how with what they got to work with, and at the same time, it's not you don't have an agreement to teach them. They never asked for your teaching. So don't offer it unless they have an agreement that they've asked, and then lay it on them. But there's just hoops you're going to have to get through and figure out a way, even if you got to shove potato chips in your pocket. Awesome. Maybe one last question.
I do. I have a question.
All right, Omar, about time.
So I was formulating while you were speaking. So on MLS, it teaches us as chiropractor to be present, to be in the moment, to be at ease with the patient. Mm-hmm. Now, there will be times that, depending on the patient or the day or throughout the day, you'll get for say negative energy, you'll get worn down, you get tired. How you as a chiropractor any tips you can give for us to help us maintain that peace of mind, be in the moment, and not get like bogged down or ready to leave the practice, your office or that. I don't know I hope that question.
I got it. So, and I feel like you already know the answers to all this, and it can get validated, but really it's discipline, Omar. And what Arnaud Bernier has helped me develop in my life is discipline. And listen, the path of mediocrity is really well worn. And so really, the world is not expecting you, Omar, to be present all the time, to be fully on your game every day, every single person, from the first to the last, right? Do you know how rare that is? And the world is not expecting that of you, but you can expect that of you. I expect that of me. And it's not it's simple, but it's not easy. And the discipline is having your ritual and your routine. And you have to manage your environment. The inmates do not run the asylum. So one of the easiest ways to this is Don Miguel Ruiz's 4 agreements. One of the fastest ways you will get thrown off your game is taking shit personally, making assumptions, not being impeccable with your word, and either not doing your best or doing more than your best. Trying too hard, being too attached. You follow? That do your best works both ways. Don't do less, don't do more.
All right.
That's the easiest. If you've read it, read it 10 more times. So that's a couple things. If Romain, if Zach our practicing docs here, want to speak to that a little bit about how do you cultivate the day in, day out consistency of high level present time consciousness and skills. I muted Zach, hold on.
There we go. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
First thing that came to my mind was ground center, open your heart. Every time I feel like I might be getting a little off, it's just taking another 5-10 seconds. Ground, center myself, open myself back up, and then approach the person on the table. Because most of the time when I find myself wavering a little bit, it's because I've lost that groundedness and that clarity that gives me. Right? So it can be as simple as that in the flow of practice, right? In the flow of seeing people, giving myself an extra 3 to 5 seconds, just standing at the end of the table, take a breath, kind of collect myself, and then continue.
That's it. It's simple, but not easy, right? And, Arno always told us from the very beginning, he was not interested in training people who wanted to be good, right? So you are in the extreme minority of people who are willing to do what it takes to be extraordinary. And I am so filled with love and gratitude for you for that, Omar, and everyone on this call and everyone who's going to be on the call and everything that you're doing. It matters so much. And in 2 weeks, here we go, right? So I just want to appreciate Edwin, Patricia, everybody who is involved in the Sherman Club. Thank you. How cool that it is up and running there. We're going to have a club with Lucas's help and Romain's help going at Toulouse and really just shift the profession even more. Love and gratitude to you all. Everybody unmute and we can all say buys and loves.
Thank you, Wade, for this call. Thank you, everybody.
Romain, it's 2:05 a.m. in Greece, man. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, and I'm here, when it's about chiropractic, there we go. We dive in, we jump in, we are here for save the world, for live mankind and all that stuff. Thank you. And for the students, I'm a young chiropractor, and the best advice that I can give you is to listen. When you come to people, when you put your 5 million and 5 million receptor, just listen. When people come to see you and say, yeah, I have pain, I have something, just listen. Because people need to listen. And when you go to the big organization like Masons, I don't know in English how the name, but in French is franc-maçon. The first step for 2 years that you need to know, it's listen. So all the people need to be listened. This is the same thing for the nervous system and for the spine. So if there is 3 subluxation, you need to listen to know where the force coming at the first thing. And don't palpate with your finger, because you will change the reality of the nervous system. So just put your hand, adjust, and put your hand again. And this is amazing that when you listen, you know, you feel the energy, you see the energy, you hear the energy, and you can do it with your people, with your environment. And when you dive in this shit, it's a big process, you know, and you dive in your office, your life change, and you go out and you go to see your family, and you see that your wife speaking differently, but you have the same wife. Your son speaking differently, but you have the same son. And this is the same for your friend. This is the same for your teammates if you do a sport. You know, when you listen, everything changes and you can have a good answer. The second thing is intelligent people ask questions. You know, so a lot of people come and say, yeah, I have pain, back pain, I have this, and you feel in a position that you need to have arguments, you know, you need to have an argumentation for them, but doesn't work like this, you know. Ask them a question, you know, and always with like spiritual you know, intuition, like refer to nature, refer to God, refer to the law of life, refer to the universe, refer to principle. And people just, all right, I get it. No more question. So yeah, listen and ask question.
Thank you.
Beautiful. See you guys in a couple weeks. Let's do this again soon.
Thank you so much, Dr. Wade. And Romain, nice to meet you.
Yes, nice to meet
Thank you, guys.
Maybe next time I will be there. Not maybe, I'm sure.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Bye.